Jeff Hathorn with a hypothetical. We have talked quarterbacks a lot. We're going to continue to talk quarterbacks a lot, frankly, because the Steelers haven't been looking for one for real in 18 years. They can say we had a first-round grade on Mason Rudolph. Went horribly. They picked him in the third round, one of the biggest shams ever as far as like where they actually thought of him.
Josh Dobbs, no?
Not quite. I always liked that they traded him to the Jags and then got him right back. That was a nice little okey-doke of a deal. But this is the first time we've been in a position here, sitting in this city, really, the fan has existed now for 12-plus years. And in all 12 of those years, think about how many teams in the NFL have gone through a quarterback search of some kind, have had to find their next guy. And the Steelers haven't. Even the Patriots now, with what they had to do with Brady leaving town, have had to go and get their next guy. I mean, if I were to actually go through every team, I think the Steelers might be, along with the Saints and Breeze, up until last year, the only one that hasn't had to go through this yet. In the time frame we've been on the air, 12 years.
There have been guys like Taysom Hill in that failed experiment, and then there was the Garoppolo. Garoppolo was the next guy. Brady wanted him out. That whole drama up there that ends up now in San Francisco's drama with Jimmy G. But you're right. I mean, they've toyed around with the idea. They took a chance on Dobbs. They threw in a T. Martin. In the past,
a T. Martin
just to have a guy that maybe pans out.
Is T. Martin the thing that in quarterback terms, it's like for at the NFL level, if you buy the sham wow, we'll throw in two extra things. He's the throw-in right there. He's also one of those guys who got picked before Tom Brady, but I digress. So it's been quarterback talk, and it's going to continue to be. Draft is 4 weeks away, but people are foaming at the mouth about this. So I'm going to present you a hypothetical that just kind of hit me. I don't think we've ever done it this way when we've talked about this. There are 4 quarterbacks, 3 especially, but now 4 with one in particular who's creeping up, Desmond Ridder, starting to fly up boards. The way this whole thing goes every year,
right,
where guys move around. Sam Howell this time last year, if he would have been able to come out in the draft, people would have said, oh, Sam Howell's is a really good quarterback. His stock is up. Now his is down. There's Pickett, there's Willis, there's Corral, and now there's Ridder as a hard-charging horse here. I'm going to give you this hypothetical. The Steelers, I will tell you this. The Steelers are going to pick a quarterback at pick 20.
Okay.
But I'm not telling you which of those 4 consensus or close to it first-round type guys they're going to pick. You only know that one of those 4 ends here. Does Jeff Hathorn sign up for that happily, or are you thinking, making a mistake, I don't like rolling this bit of dice?
Yeah, 50% of them I'm happy.
Which ones? Willis, Pickett?
Yep.
Willis, I assume upside solely. I mean, you're just banking
Willis
upside
is
and
crazy
Pickett.
Upside, because I think where the Steelers are in their situation and where they're rebuilding, that's a good risk. Like if this guy's going to take a couple of years, that's okay. Yeah, everybody wants to win now, but you're not in the position to win now. So you could build with him. You've got Trubisky to play. You could let him work on the side, learn more about the game, improve his accuracy, all those things. Because the upside, Willis is there, and for Pickett, it's because he could play now.
Why do you take Corral out of that equation then? I'm just solely based on the fact that, like, athletically, everyone would say he's a better runner than Pickett, but he's between Willis and Pickett there. Pedigree-wise, they'd say he did it in the SEC, even if it was Lane Kiffin's goofy offense. And the arm talent I do like almost more than Pickett, less than Willis, because he throws some bullets in the mid-range game. Like I like Corral's arm.
Yeah, I just don't see. There's just something about Matt Corral that says to me, quarterback. I don't want
the fact that he's a $190 and they were running him like 25 times a game sometimes.
I can't get away from the offense that he played.
Do it for you?
But I can't get away from the offense that he played. And maybe that's bad, because remember all those quarterbacks that came out of the Big 12 and then all of a sudden Kansas City hit with one.
Right.
So it might be wrong of me to just put him in that scenario, but that's what I do with Corral.
Okay, so it's interesting then to go back. If you say 50% of these guys I'm good with, 50% I'm not. So the question was, I tell you they're taking a quarterback. You like 2 out of 4 of them, but I'm not telling you which one that they get. Do you sign up for that right now, playing that that blind roll of the dice, or would you automatically say,
this
you know
is so
what?
Tough, because I don't
Give
know
me
who
somebody
else is
else
available. Is Jordan Davis
You're
available?
Is
Chris Olave available?
I'll give you this. You're going to have. This is a broad way to do this little discussion. You will have a wide receiver you like there. Olave, or say you want to take
Jameson Williams. Right.
Jameson Williams' knee is going to require rehab into the season, but you don't need him right away if you don't believe you're going to be really good right away. Olave might be there. or Davis Wyatt from Georgia. Somebody's there that fits, either D-line, wide receiver, or if you still believe they need an offensive lineman. What are you taking there? It's quarterback and you don't know, or you can basically name your guy that's being mocked at 20.
To play your scenario
Yes.
and to get hammered here, I would be mad about a quarterback. If those guys are available, because they immediately fill a need, and next year's quarterback class, I will find somebody.
I am also against it in principle, but one of the things where I have been eroding, like my resistance has been eroding, is I said all along, I thought and I've had the extremist point of view in this town, I think, on this. I have said I do not care. I've watched the Steelers my entire life. I am 37 years old. I have watched them consciously for 30 years of my life. I have seen 3 losing seasons or something like that. I think literally it might be literally be 3. 02, 98, 99.
3 years of Tower.
Okay. So 02, 98, 99. I am ready. I am prepared. I am with arms wide open, ready to accept, like I'm in the band Creed. I am ready. Thank you. I am ready to accept a 4-13 suckfest where Mitch Trubisky just looks like blech and his career as a starter is functionally over. And they're a work in progress on that side of the ball while their defense tries to help them out, but just can't surmount all the quarterbacks they've got to go up against. I am ready for that if, and this is me pandering to you, it means Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud is in their future next year, and they don't have to move heaven and earth or anything at all necessarily to go and get them.
So where are the Steelers in the AFC right now? Are they even top 10 in the AFC?
Fourth worst playoff odds, Jeff. I went and looked at the playoff odds. They give you just Bills are minus 550 just to make it. It's Jets, Jags, Texans are worse than them. And 2 of those teams, all 3 of them, I would argue, at least have, in theory, more hopeful quarterback situations.
How many good teams, even with 7 getting in, how many good teams are not getting it in the playoffs?
The entire NFC or AFC West, the entire division, and on paper, now we don't know what happens with Watson and the suspension, and 3 of the AFC North look like viable playoff teams. You would be leaving out Buffalo. You'd be leaving out Miami potentially, who almost made it last year.
Right. New England.
And you'd be leaving out Tennessee and New England.
And the Colts.
Who, with Matt Ryan, I think are going to be pretty good because the one thing he can't do is move, but they don't need him to.
Their running game and their defense is pretty solid. They just got hosed by the quarterback they chose.
Right.
That's why. So I did a story on 937thefan.com about the last 10 great franchise quarterbacks and what happened the year after.
Mm-hmm.
The team that survived it the best was the Indianapolis Colts because Peyton Manning had that year where he was out injured, which allowed them to get Andrew Luck as the number 1 overall pick. And that's the only reason that they survived and actually won 1 more game after losing their Hall of Fame quarterback, where everyone else, where 7 of the 10 failed miserably.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts survived because they had that horrible season. Embrace the suck. That's what I would tell you in that scenario.
So the only guy who wore that one was Jim Caldwell, unfairly, I might add, but he was the
Caldwell is a guy.
He's a guy who probably should still be a head coach.
That's a whole other show, but
right.
If you're arguing for African Americans as head coaches, he's the guy. It's if there's someone that you wonder why of all these coaches have gotten screwed, Caldwell's the one.
He got jobbed more with the Lions than anything, which was really funny.
Which might speak more less to
the
it's
Lions.
racism as it is just incompetence.
Yeah, the Lions, yes, are idiots, but Matt Patricia did so well after him. No, I was saying though I've eroded a little bit. Though, I don't want them to take a quarterback, right? I'd answer my own hypothetical with a no. I threw it out there, but it's not one of those you throw it out there because you believe in it. The one area where I am eroding, though, and my willpower and resistance has gone away a little bit, is the idea that if they take one, I'm not still going to be excited. You know what I mean? I remember being in college when they took Roethlisberger, and you're focusing on Eli and Phillip Rivers and him. And are they going to get one of these guys? We were pumped. I remember being in somebody's dorm room when the draft happened. We're near finals week. Everyone's kind of winding down, getting ready to go home for the year. And you see that the Steelers get him. Buddies were texting each other. You have no idea, by the way, if this guy's going to be good or not. It's a complete crapshoot.
And people forget, or might forget, that he wasn't the starter. Like Ben didn't
He
come
wasn't
in
even
it's
second
like,
string until
he's
Charlie got hurt.
Right. He's riding in and it's going to be the guy. That was not the case at all.
Yeah, Alan Faneca can be the object lesson for anyone that still doesn't know that story about whether or not he was the White Knight saving that team. Alan Faneca was not excited, but
and there was confidence in Tommy Maddox that he was going to be the guy and that Ben eventually would work into that role, but it wasn't going to be immediate.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, I said 02 they had a losing season. 03 they did. 02 he had taken him to the playoffs after Cordell's 01 year, and he was good, and it looked like maybe a fluke bad year, and they might still be a decent team who had just drafted their franchise quarterback. Point being, I was pumped. I was excited. So there has been part of me throughout this entire process. We're going to Kenny Pickett's pro day. We're breaking down everything Malik Willis does.
That was nice-esque.
I know. But I caught it, I think, which is the that's why they pay me the big bucks. Look at this thing. I'm on the fan cam right now. If you can see this, I caught the microphone that I zeiced onto my wrist. I just caught it without actually using my hand.
That was impressive.
So I'm. Throughout this process, it's been funny. I think Pony and I have been pretty united. We don't really like. I'm going to hold this.
I'm just
here for as
watching
long
you
as I
hold
can.
this.
Yeah, I'm going to hold this. Well, I don't
like
want it to crackle.
Game.
I don't want it to crackle though. I'm just going to wait till I turn it back to you. Then I'm going to slowly turn around, turn my mic off, and
hurry
put
up,
it back
make a
up.
point.
Oh, don't worry. This is now an endurance test for me. I have found myself quietly. I don't mention it on the air till now, getting. Not pumped up like I think one of these guys is going to be great. I believe Kenny Pickett's going to be better than some of his detractors think. I think Malik Willis could be, with the right system around him, good. I can even talk myself into Corral, who I think will be their pick. I have a weird gut feeling. Or I can talk myself into Ritter even, who seems to be going up boards soon, or quickly right now. But I guess my point here is where I have worn down is I know I'm going to be excited for the future of the team if they draft the guy, even if he's bad. For example, Jets fans last year probably thought Zach Wilson needed a parental signature to attend the draft, a field trip. Zach Wilson looks like a child.
Like Jake Gensel.
Right. He doesn't look, and he might not be good. He had a brutal first year. He's one of the few quarterbacks that almost made me feel like Roethlisberger was an upgrade last year, end stage Ben. But they still got that excitement of, well, this is our guy and this is the plan. And there is part of me where even though I would answer my own question, if I don't get to pick my quarterback, and of those four, I just know they're drafting one, I would still sign up for that over Devontae Wyatt or anybody from Georgia, Jordan Davis, whoever it might be. Even Walker's going to be long gone from them, or a wide receiver. You know what I mean? That little bit of excitement in this process is starting to creep in.
What you're not getting is a situation where you feel like you have to make a move to get a player. Like last year, they were hell-bent on getting a running back because running back is what we need to get back to the promised land. And what is likely Ben's last year, we're going to ride it. Roethlisberger is going to be great. He's had a year, he feels great. He's going to find the magic. We add that running back. They've gotten to the point you can see in what they've done in free agency. They realize they have a lot of needs, and they can go in different directions. What made them really good in the draft previously is that they rarely reached. And I'm not saying that Najee's a reach. What I'm saying is they don't have to reach here. They don't have to get a quarterback. Mm-hmm. The team that freaks out in the top 5 and picks one of these quarterbacks probably is going to look back someday and say, man, we could have had this dude.
It's funny. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought it up too, because the Panthers, I think, are in a much worse spot in a lot of ways than the Steelers. Matt Rule is not as good of a coach as Mike Tomlin is. Their owner is not.
And he's on the hot seat. He knows he's got to win now.
For all of my qualms with Art Rooney not being as passionate as sometimes I would want him to be, or coming off that way and being way too willing to do, we just compared him unfavorably yesterday with Robert Kraft, or 2 days ago, where Kraft's like, hey, 3 years without a playoff win, what the hell, Bill? And Art Rooney, hey, we did win the division, we did do this, we did do that whenever they've made the play. Hey, a playoff berth's a playoff berth. David Tepper is you see the steam coming out of the ears. And so, here's where I'm saying the Panthers are in a way worse spot, and I'm not jealous of them. They are going to be picking at 6, high up enough, where they are almost certainly, barring a team getting even more desperate, like Atlanta decides they love Malik Willis, they are going to be picking in a place where their fans are probably starved for a quarterback. Their fans probably don't care that it's a down year for quarterbacks, or maybe Willis and Pickett would have been 6 and 7 in last year's class. I've seen that put out there. They would have been behind Mac Jones even in that group, right? And they are going to have to explain to their fans, if they don't take a quarterback, this is why we didn't. And so it almost feels like the Steelers at 20 are in a sort of relaxed spot. Nobody thinks that any of these guys are good enough to be traded up for, I think. And they're probably not going to have the opportunity to say thanks but no thanks on Pickett, which would have made people here go nuts, on Willis, which would have made Crowley go nuts because that's his dream pick, or on any of these other guys. The only guy I think that might be there at 20 is either Corral or Ritter. And if you pass on one of them, I don't think there's enough accrued belief in them among fans here where you're going to get absolutely crucified.
Yeah, they're in the wrong spot for a couple of reasons that you hit on. One, they've got an owner that's really anxious to win. He's a Pitt guy who's really anxious to win with a coach that's on the hot seat that needs to win now. That speaks to reaching for a pick or a panic pick, which you can't have. I think Rule has enough power where he could probably overrule any of this because he needs to have a guy in place now, or at least if it doesn't save him this year, there's enough belief that,
there's a plan, like Matt
we've got
has
this
something
guy,
going.
Right.
Yeah.
And, hey, I've known Kenny. He committed to me when I was at Temple. We're guys. We're going to make this thing work. Just give me a little bit of time.
Well, I think if he picks Pickett 6th overall, I think Tepper gives him 2 years. Because I think there's you get 1 year for your quarterback, and then you get a Pittsburgh bonus year tacked on by David Tepper, who says, well, you did pick a Pitt kid. And as dumb as that is, listen, didn't Jimmy Haslam listen to a homeless guy, I think, to draft Johnny Manziel? I mean, there are stories about these owners
that worked out well.
Jerry Jones having to be physically held back in the same draft by his son-in-law by drafting Johnny Manziel. Like these owners are not rational people when it comes to I've lost and I'm going to win.
Son saving father move maybe of all time. Like if he goes to Dallas, think of what a mess he was in Cleveland. What kind of mess would Johnny Manziel have been in Dallas?
Worse. Although I feel like Jones would have enabled him a little bit more.
But I mean,
it would have been a disaster.
Personally,
Johnny,
I know.
Would have been a humongous disaster. Well, isn't the story you say son saving the father in the Marino to the Steelers story that Batko just wrote? Isn't the chief really wanted him and the son screwed it up?
Yeah, that one didn't go
that's
the same
the opposite.
way.
That's the opposite.
But of course,
one.
Here's the one thing about Marino, and it's a great story by Brian. I heard him on with you guys as well. Everyone assumes that it would have worked, like that he would have been able to do the same things that he did down there
up here. I mean, it is tempting though when it's
but
the
he's
whole body
still
of work.
around all of his people.
Yeah,
I think it was a perfect get the hell out of Pittsburgh, go start anew, and
you're also
coach
in warm
that was
weather,
a Hall
which
of
probably
Famer.
doesn't hurt.
It was a Hall of Fame coach, but was willing to just kind of hand the keys over.
Well,
I don't know if Chuck.
Yeah. Well, Chuck was gripping the steering wheel a little too tight
would have said,
at that
okay,
point.
yeah, go ahead, Dan. We're going to let you throw it that many times.
Well, the weird thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, the weird thing on that one wasn't the Dolphins' dynasty of the early 70s just built on, ultimate – I mean, I remember reading, some of the stats from those Super Bowls. They barely passed the ball.
Right. It was Zonka and Kick and all those guys.
And just being physically
better. And Greasy was a game manager.
Yeah, he was the caretaker.
Yeah.
But the fact that he let Marino just turn it loose immediately probably reflects pretty well on Don Shula, I would say.